and welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. We are on episode 10, and if you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Also, please subscribe, help a girl out. I do have four sister podcasts, True Crime Lounge, Just a Breezy Chat, Sassy Southern Belle, and Dark Academia Queen. They're all different topics, and Down the Rabbit Hole and Dark Academia Queen kind of they coincide with each other, but there's so many things that don't necessarily fall with Dark Academia that could fall under Down the Rabbit Hole. So that's where I cleaned this one at. And this one, on this episode, I had to do some research because I was like, what are some myths and everything? So once I came across this creature, I was like, let's go down the rabbit hole and find any information I can. Now, for those of you who don't know, I do believe in ghosts and stuff like that, but I also have an interest in learning about superstitions like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and all of that as well. But this creature I've never even heard of until I Googled it. I was looking it up, and it's called a Chessie. And when I think of the name Chessie, I remember the Parent Trap. Do you know the scene where where the nanny or whatever is and everything for Hallie and everything? So that's why I think of the name. That's when think of the name Chessie. I don't think of like a sea monster now. So, but apparently this is a sea creature in American folklore that is said to have lived in the midst of the Chesapeake Bay, and it claims to have sightings to appear in local media and regionally themed books from 1936 and on. So over time, this figure would be developed into an environmental icon with associated with the ecological health of the Chesapeake Bay, and it continues to play a part in popular culture. So now, there have been many claims and sightings, so the earliest purported sighting of the Chessie-like creature may have been from a military helicopter. I say may, because it's reported sighting. But anyway, and this helicopter was flying over a Bush River in 1936, where they said something reptilian and unknown in the water was observed in the helicopter crew. Now, unlike the Chessie sighting from the helicopter in 1936, it seems like there was an earliest Sikorsky helicopter that was flying near Stratford, Connecticut in 1939. So, and according to Matt Lake, in Weird, Maryland, there were two Perch fishermen whose names were Francis Claremont and Edward J. Ward, who spotted something in the water near Baltimore in 1943. And they will go on to say that it was like 75 yards away at the right angle from the boat. And at first it would look like something was floating in the water, but it was black, and part of it was that wave that was out of the water. It seemed about 12 feet. It had a about as big as a football, and shaped somewhat like a horse's head. Now, it also turned into water several times, almost all the way around. Interesting. But in 1978, there was witnesses who claimed that seeing Chessie near the Southern Maryland Calvert Cliff State Park in the Potomac River in Westmoreland County, Virginia. So, a sketch of the unknown sea creature has been drawn by Trudy Guttrew, and it was published in an Evening Sun in September 1980. And it was later identified as a manatee from Florida. And manatees are occasionally sighted in the area in general, but unlike the reports of a serpentine creature, manatees create a smooth footprint as they move, rather than undulating from side to side. So, what happened in 1982? Well, Robert and Karen Frew supposedly videotaped Chessie near Kent Island. The video showed the brownish object moving side to side in aquatic snakes. Now, another claim of this sighting is the best occurred in 1997 off the shore of Fort Smallwood Park, very close to the shore. Now, the most recent sighting occurred April 5th, 2014 at 1:40 a.m. And these was and while walking at the side of Orlando Beach Road, directly on Mogany River, when the tide was high, a Maryland resident and his friend reportedly saw a Chessie less than 5 feet away from his car. It was described as a snake-like creature 25 to 30 feet, without fins, topped with a slender football-shaped head, and a black color, and although he did not distinguish between having scales and leathery skin, the creature did not rise out of the water, but the head end of the tail and just breached the surface of the water and it moved with serpentine motion. The witness first questioned himself as if it was two separate animals dwelling behind one another. Now, I don't know about y'all, but here's the thing. I see a snake, I'm running. I'm not going to stick around and try to figure out what it is. Just saying. If it looks like a snake, I'm gone. Dead or alive, I don't care. A snake is a snake. But some even realized that this was a creature, one creature, because of the pattern it created in the water surface. No, there are no known snakes in Maryland that get close to 25 feet long, unless you're an anaconda or something, but still, I'm in Maryland. Now, although no one was tamed because the photo was tamed because the witnesses were so busy trying to figure out what was going on, he did not think to take a picture with his phone. And the witness was so moved by this he called the Maryland Department of Natural Resources soon after the sighting. So now Chessie was used by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services for an educational coloring book in 1986, and they called it Chessie, a Chesapeake Bay story. Now, the coloring book focused on the Chesapeake Bay by protecting its resources. A second coloring book, Chessie Returns, was published in 1991, and the follow-up book, is a prequel that assumes that the monster is a female. So, in the 1980s, Chessie kind of became like a symbol for environmental advocacy in Maryland. And illustrations of this monster in um, newspapers and government publications accompanying articles about environmental issues and gave a monster a friendly appearance. Eric Shizam will write in Discovering Chessie, Waterfront Regional Identity and the Chesapeake Bay. Try saying that 10 times fast. That the friendliness of the monster too could not but convey the sense of that it was a harmless victim of pollution. So, how is Chessie portrayed in popular culture? Well, a manatee rescued from the Chesapeake Bay Coldwater in October 1994 was nicknamed Chessie before it was returned to Florida. In 1995, Chessie the manatee will swim back to Chesapeake Bay, then swim to Rhode Island, then being tracked and tagged on its fluke. Now, manatees are unusual so far from Florida, but this one had revisited Chesapeake Bay several times since, and Chessie was photographed in the Patapsco River in 2010, and again in the shore of Calvert County on July 12, 2011. So, there was even like a statue of this monster advertised at the entrance of what is now called the um, the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Baltimore and Harvard area. So, but according to a company spokesperson, Chessie was chosen for the facade because it was very much a myth of the area. Now, the Cambridge, Maryland base RAR Brewing features Chessie on many beer cans that was produced by a brewery, and the minor league baseball team called themselves the Bowery Bay Sox has a green mascot that they named Louie, whose design is based off the Chesapeake Bay monster. So, do I believe this monster actually exists? Much like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, no. Um, that might change if I actually witness something similar to it, but I'm not making you any promises. But if you've seen this, or like if you're from the area, like I'm curious to know, like, were there any stories or legends about this from this area? From the Chesapeake area? Let me know.